In this video, we're going to be doing a full deep dive on Salesforce stock, ticker symbol CRM, and that is one of the stocks that I do own here in my Robinhood portfolio. I do own 8 shares of this company, but look at them year to date. They're down 17%. Just in the past 3 months, they're down 22%. So I believe right now is a pretty decent time to buy the dip on Salesforce. I do own 8 shares of them, so I might be a little biased here, but I'm just going to show you all the numbers for yourself. You can draw your own conclusion. This is my favorite AI play at the moment. They have their AgentForce software. They have a subscription business. Look at all the industries that they're in. I'll just be quick about this. They're in the service industry, they're in sales, they have their own platform integration and analytics. Let's just look at their services revenue, for example. Look at the growth of this. This is for the full year 2025, or actually, this is fiscal year 2025. They do their accounting a little bit differently. But anyway, consider this the full year of actual 2024. It just hit a new record. It was up 9%. That's just their services revenue. Then they have their sales business. As we can see, this one's also up 10% year over year. Their platform and other, that one's up 10% year over year. Their integration and analytics, all these businesses are growing like crazy. Their marketing and commerce, that's 5 billion. That's up 8% year over year. So I love how diversified that they are, and they're growing their business as well. Like if we look at the FCF, which stands for free cash flow, they just made 4 billion of free cash flow just in the most recent quarter. Look at these green year over year growth rates. So they're expanding their free cash flow, which is phenomenal. We can see their gross margins, their net margin right here. Look at that. They have a 17% net margin. The net margin's up it's up 10% year over year. So yeah, look at that. If we look at their net income right here, they just made 1.7 billion of net income. That's actually a new record. That's incredible. If we look at their just sales year over year, it's up 7.6% to nearly $10 billion. So the sales are up 7.6, but the net income's up 18% because they're expanding their net margin, which is incredible. That's what I really like about Salesforce. And of course, they have this incredible operating cash flow. Look at that. Their operating cash flow was 3.97 and the actual free cash flow was 3.82. So they have low capex. Yeah, I love Salesforce stock, and this free cash flow is really the winner here. If we do a free cash flow multiple based off their net income, they're trading incredibly cheap. And let me show you a few more numbers about Salesforce. Then I'm going to show you their investor presentation. I'll explain a little bit more about what they do, what brands do they own. They own Slack, for example. But look at this right here, their net income. They made 1.7 billion of net income just in the most recent quarter. We're not even going to consider free cash flow. We know the free cash flow is way higher than their net income. It's like double their net income, but remember, 1.7 billion of net income just in the most recent quarter, and they also pay a dividend. They literally just started paying a dividend for the first time, and the dividend only cost $380 million. So that is a very safe and sustainable dividend payout ratio. And look at the cash on hand. They still have $14 billion of cash. So they have $14 billion of cash, and how much debt? Literally $8 billion of debt. They're paying down their debt as well. So their debt's going down. They have more cash than debt. So that's a great sign. We can see their retained earnings right here. Yeah, they're retaining their actual earnings. We can look at their stock buyback program. Now, you will notice that they did issue shares in the most recent quarter, which actually I'm not mad about. That's when the stock literally hit an all-time high, because if we look at all the 4 other quarters, they always buy back their own stock. They bought back 4 billion just that one quarter, and that's because they made so much free cash flow. They made like 6 billion of free cash flow that quarter. But yeah, so this is when they issued shares. It was last quarter, probably around this $350 level. So I'm definitely not upset about Salesforce, because it's not like they issued shares when the stock was, at $250 or something. So anyway, that's the good news about Salesforce. Now let me show you a little bit more about what the company does and a few more incredible details. All right, so here's a few metrics that I find really impressive about Salesforce. Look at this free cash flow yield. If this was a dividend yield, you'd be getting 4.65% of your money back, but this is the free cash flow based off the market cap. So they have a lot of room to raise this 0.6% dividend yield, because they have a 4.65% free cash flow yield, a 2.32% earnings yield. That's instead of the free cash flow, they use the net income. But look at this year over year. They buy back their own stock. Again, they did just issue a little bit of shares in the most recent quarter. So normally the shares would be going down more. Yeah, because remember, they spent like 4 billion that one quarter buying back their own stock. I love the margins, for this software company, 77% gross margin. They now have a free cash flow margin of 33%. So if you go spend $100 over there, literally $33 of that will be free cash flow for the company. If you don't know, here are some of the brands that they own. Like they own Slack, MuleSoft, Tableau. And look at this. If you didn't know, Salesforce bought Slack for $27.7 billion. This was huge back in the day. I remember hearing about this. They said it was a really, they paid a lot of money for them, but that's a great asset to own. Yeah, look at this. Salesforce has the number one market share, more than Microsoft, Oracle, Adobe, SAP. So yeah, they're the number one software provider for 11 consecutive years. Yeah, you can kind of see all the awards that they have here, but let me show you some of the financial overview. We just kind of looked at their financials, so I'll be quick here. Yeah, look at this free cash flow of $12.4 billion. So Salesforce right now has a market cap of $266 billion. So we'll do 266. We'll divide this by, look at the free cash flow. This was for the full year 2024. Basically, it was 12.4. So we'll divide this by 12.4, and that means Salesforce is trading right now at 21 times free cash flow. And for Salesforce, that's expected to keep on growing their free cash flow. If we look at their guidance down here, well, I'll show you their guidance in a minute here. They're expected to keep on growing. Yeah, look at this. Here's their guidance for the full year 2026. Look at this. This is the operating cash flow, so not the free cash flow, but it's expected to keep on growing another 10 to 11% just next year. So yeah, that's what's really impressive about this company. And we can kind of see this was the most recent quarter results. They made free cash flow of $3.8 billion. Remember, their dividend we just looked at only cost $388 million. So they have a lot of room to raise their dividend if they wanted to. They just started paying a dividend. So I know they'll grow it pretty fast. Yeah, we could see right here, remember Slack? We could see Slack percent of their total revenue is 13%. I actually kind of like that this is going down. The reason it's going down is not because Slack isn't performing good. Like, look at this. All these are going down. That's because they're investing in new assets. They're acquiring new companies. Salesforce literally buys so many companies. It's ridiculous. These are just a few of their larger brands that they own. Like, obviously, we know Slack was a huge acquisition that they did, but yeah. So remember how they made $12 billion of free cash flow? Well, look at this. They actually returned $9.3 billion of that to the shareholders for the full year 2024. Again, this is for fiscal year, but just consider it full year 2024 because it's the same time frame. But look at that. The shares outstanding actually went down. It is slightly up from the previous quarter because they issued shares. They issued shares when the stock was at an all-time high. So I'm not upset about that because they issued the shares to pay employees with it. Salesforce pays a ton of their employees with stock, but even after you factor in the stock-based comp, the free cash flow yield and the earnings yield is still 2.32%. So that's really impressive. Then they buy back 1% of their company, and then they pay out dividends as well. So this is now a shareholder-friendly company, and they're going to be more disciplined about this, I believe. And they have no net debt. Yeah, look at this. Net cash is $2 billion. That's after factoring in all their total debts. So this is a very financially healthy company. They have incredible margins. Look at the free cash flow margin, 33%. So yeah, if you're looking for an AI stock to buy, a software AI stock, I think Salesforce is a really great one. Again, I might be biased because I do also own them, but I just love this free cash flow per share growth. I mean, literally in that one quarter, it was $6.40. That's like their end of year best quarter. Their diluted net income, their diluted EPS just hit a record, $1.75, highest it's ever been. Super low, dividend payout ratio, even if you use the EPS or the free cash flow per share. It's extremely cheap when you look at the free cash flow because they make like $15 billion of free cash flow a year plus, and then the dividend's only $400 million a quarter. So anyway, if you did find any value in this video, I really would appreciate if you hit the like button. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if you leave a comment, I'll make sure to respond to all of them. But again, please drop a like for me. See you in the next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day.